like how we want to design our proposal should not only affect the architecture but also people's lives, individuals' lives, and how the way they live, their way of living. So I thought of adopting something that was that originated in Japan. So it's a movement called Kyosho Jutaku. It's basically micro homes in Japan. So it's inspired by the idea of Zen Buddhism of living with bare essentials like no luxury, none of the luxurious material possessions, and it's also because in Japan they had to counter the issue of earthquakes. So when one does occur, like everything is lightweight, everything is not hopefully non-fatal. So if things do start collapsing, but so when I adopted this idea over to Oxford, I was thinking there's so much more this movement can contribute to producing possibly a zero carbon city. So to start off, the Japanese people have this culture because they really lack a lot of space in their cities. So their apartment units or their studios have only one big open space where they have multiple users in that space. It's a living room, it's a kitchen, it's a dining room, it's a bedroom, it's a study room. So they merely rearrange and install and uninstall small tiny furnitures where it's just like pillows or small stools and small tables that they can store away in their shelves. So that's the first way of how we can live differently to reduce our carbon footprint, both by buying less furnitures, buying less items because we have smaller houses, smaller space, less place to store things, and also by reducing the size of our units. So the other one is by reducing the size of our houses, we create a much more intimate and cozy space where people who are in this space tend to want to interact with people more and not use their phones as much. So it's also there to create a more healthy human-to-human environment. And when a space is smaller, like a house is smaller, I'll show the model later. When the house is smaller, you effectively reduce the overall exterior surface of the house. So heat loss through exposure to the weather is also reduced drastically. And then also micro homes help condense cities by bringing point A to point B much closer. So then you have less need for motorized vehicles or even public transport. You can prefer to walk. You will prefer to walk or cycle more. And also, something Japanese architects like to do is design the furnitures as well. So their furnitures, like a table, can become a chair, can become a bookshelf, can become a bed. It's a multi-use, just like its spaces. It's all multi-use. So they buy one thing but use it for many things. And then what I proposed for this room is the layout. So the existing site. So this is the existing site that I proposed to install the first micro home. Is actually it's called Taylor's Estate and Letting. So it's actually a property like sales office. So I thought this is a good idea to like use the sales office as a showroom to show like what possible ways that we can change our way of living. So these are like different like templates of what we can use with this micro home. It won't just be a home anymore. It can be a small business. The existing plot is about 5 to 6 meter wide and about 12 meters deep long. So by downsizing the house, first of all you get a lot more space for green spaces outside. So that helps with reducing the carbon emission as well. And then the remaining size of the house will be 4 by 7 meters, so 4 meters wide and 7 meters deep. So the bottom floor can be purposed as a kitchen / dining room, so it can transform. And then the upper floor for the residential ones. So for upstairs, you become a study room, living room, and bedroom here. And it'll be they'll all each come with like a washroom on the ground floor. So it's like everyone shares one bathroom. It's like it's just to save water and stuff. And then you can also think of it as a small. You can try to use it as a small restaurant, a small eatery where you can fit in small tables where people sit very closely together and huddled together, kind of like those like ramen shops in Japan where everyone is like squeezed together, so it's like much more cozy and intimate. And then the rooftop, what I proposed is to create like a little greenhouse at the rooftop. So, for example, restaurants can go up there and plant their vegetables and stuff and pluck it straight and go downstairs and use it. So this is proposed as, and the material of this I thought, because like Merrick showed a graph of like the energy consumption to use different type of materials in a WhatsApp group, and like I did a bit more research. Like timber is obviously the one that has the least like that uses the least like carbon emission, but then you have to kill trees and stuff, and so I chose to take the middle ground, which is concrete, and to keep it lightweight, I've decided to go for hollow core concrete, so that the idea of these houses is that you just buy it once, like a car, you buy it once and you use it for the rest of your life. So if you're gonna move to somewhere else, you literally just pick this up and you like drive it off and like plop it in another plot of land. And they are disassembled by floors, so it's like a modular design thing. And so as your family grow, you can decide to add another floor and another floor, and yeah, it's like just like a approach. Oh, and I also made like a little lorry to like fetch it around.
Each of these is 4 by 7 meters.
Yeah, 4 by 7 meters. So it can hopefully still fit on most like motorways and stuff.
Can't get down Italy Road anymore though.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ben.
Yeah, sorry?
You turn it on its side. Because the ceiling height would be, what, 2.5?
2.5, yeah, I lowered the ceiling height a little. Yeah. And this morning while walking to school, I had a little like light bulb for like how to create energy, like how to harvest energy, and I chose to go like the geothermal way. So this Odin, the public space that Odin proposed last week, I realized that this space will have a lot of people gathering here and stuff. So during cold weather, autumn, winter, you want to stay warm. So what happens is I've taken a conventionally like much larger geothermal generation plant, which is about 2 to 3 stories high and like a full building size. I've like decided to like shrink it down to like a much more like park size and submerge the turbine underground. So how it works is pretty similar to a hydroelectric dam, except now it uses hot water instead of fast flowing river water. I've decided to like modify it a little to create 2 ways of water movement. So during summer when it's hot enough, all the harvesting activity will go on underground, so the heat doesn't come up. And then there's another pipe that comes up above ground where there'll be a platform of like an amphitheater built above, where the hot water will be channeled upwards and the heat will dissipate out into the open air, so that people gathering on the public space will be a bit more warm and they'll want to stay there longer during like winters or like autumn. Yeah, that's.
You're quite close to the Charwell, aren't you? The river.
So yeah, the Thames.
The Charwell.
Yes, the Cherwell. It goes under Magdalen Bridge.
Oh yeah.
It's essentially because the river itself offers both heat or cool transfer, and it does move slowly.
Okay.
It's faster than the weather's like this. There's possibilities here as well. I think sometimes you might just sort of sneak out of your side and appropriate something that's in the vicinity, and that's a classic example of a resource that could be utilised or not.
Okay.
Yeah, you've touched on a few things that I found really interesting. One thing that just from last week as well is you need to name your systems.
Sorry. You
need to, because they take on a whole new form. If you give them a name, they become a lot more serious, and they become real. So I think you need to come up with creative names, because otherwise, a lot of these things kind of exist as well. Whereas you're adapting them, so therefore it needs Jack's a name that you've given it, and then we can refer to it. Definitely.
Jack's long.
You can be creative with it, and I'm interested in this system. I don't know how it works properly yet, but this system of kind of keeping this, because a big problem with the UK is that, especially now, I mean, it's rainy and cold and horrible outside, and we don't use outside spaces as successfully as other countries. Other countries like Spain, they use it much better, they have better weather. But then you can go to places like Copenhagen, which is arguably really cold, and they use external spaces much better than we do. So I like that was how you started to work with what Odeng had produced as well, rather than just getting rid of it, which is what your initial reaction was. So I'm proud of you for that. Well done, Jack. I think I'm always.
Is that still grass though?
I'm assuming so.
Yeah, except for the amphitheater, the part where there's elevated, there won't be grass anymore.
You've got rid of the grass.
Just like the middle part, but the rest I haven't touched. So.